Hello, this is the Aubrey Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. Okay, feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out to me. Alright, now 2 ways to do this is either through email and of course YouTube comments are greatly appreciated. Alright, so don't be shy to reach out to me. It's very helpful in measuring what you all think about the show. Also, word of mouth is helpful too, and I appreciate y'all who do. Those who do can see that. So, spread the knowledge about the Author Light. Okay, on to the topics here. Now, since it's Friday, guess what? I'm getting current. So this time I'll give my thoughts on the new season of King of the Hill, and then end on talking about Stewart fails to save the universe, the new second episode. Alright, with that said, let's get current. Come on. Alright, with the new season currently out, and the we're in the second season, really, of the revamp, I guess you can say, new generation of King of the Hill. So, it's interesting, alright? So here are my thoughts about it. So, I want to start out by saying this. Now, this might be, people have to, have the qualms about stuff like that, but this is my take on it. I don't think you can necessarily call it an animated series when it's really evident the way things are. It doesn't look like it's animated anymore. It looks like as if somebody that really that maybe had an appreciation for King of the Hill or something, took it and said, okay, let's bring it back, because it seems as if it's not actually drawn. Well, I know that's a dying art, drawn out, but there's no sort of, it doesn't look like there's any sort of evidence that there's actual animation there, or the animation style type of camera is there, because it looks very CG oriented. Now, there's a time and place for CG, but when you heavily rely on it, that's a different issue. Just like that one series, I think it's called BoJack or something like that, and there's a lot of different other series that's in the realm. Hold on a minute, just a minute, okay. BoJack, I think that's what. BoJack. BoJack Horseman, stuff like that. Alright, now that's in the realm of animation, but it's not really particularly, because it's heavily relied on CG. People will say, well, CG is just, a precursor to a next installment to enhancing animation. I don't know about all that, but so that's for one. And then also the way that Peggy is drawn. She's not drawn in a way that whoever did that didn't actually understand the character specifics of the way the original Peggy was drawn. So the way that she's aged, it looks quite starkly different. And then also the way in which they have their dispositions about things is different too. To where, it looks as if it's somebody, doing a rendition of a show. Now, from what I hold on, let me look at it just to not say anything that's not true. All right. Hold on just a minute. Now, Mike Judge, you know, is a part of it, but I don't know what was the thought process. He has his reasons, but it's very strange the way things are going about it, and it's very interesting, and because a lot of dispositions, like I'm saying, it doesn't align with the why, the how and why the main characters are. But that might be a whole other element to say maybe there's reasons for that. I don't know what's going on. You know, for instance, for one, it explains it, you know, in this new season, in the very last episode, why Bobby took the position that he did, why Hank did, and so forth. And I thought that was pretty neat and interesting, but the character development is very different. And here's why I think this. So, it's unfortunate a lot of changes has happened since the two new seasons have come out. First, when the first season came out, it was already established that Brittany Murphy and Tom Petty was no longer with us. So it was like, it was that thing where, are they going to bring him back? Yeah, and then it was reported that no, they're not going to do that. But at the same time, which is highly respectable, which you should do. With now, I don't think they're gonna bring John Redcorn back at all, because it was tragic what happened, and it would be very strange to try and, especially for the family, to, you know, it's just that's just that would be lack of respect. But hold on, I'll be right back. So, you know, the way in which he's represented towards one episode in the season, I think it was a nice rendition of, you know, giving condolences and everything. But see, you know, that's nice to have the respect for Tom Petty and Brittany Murphy, not to bring them back because they're no longer with us. But at the same time, why not have those sort of, you know, of course with John Redcorn, but why not have those sort of respects with the voice actor of Dale? Now, and that's another thing with what I have that is very, I think, controversial, to me at least. So, from what I understand, unfortunately, the voice actor of Dale, he passed away too. And so, instead of just not bringing his, there's so many ways in which to also have the same amount of respect for him, because Dale in itself was a very enriched character and the way in which, let me look his name up. Johnny Hoderick, all right? And the way in which Johnny Hoderick delivered Dale's voice was specific to him and unique and very funny and it was just, he got that line right with the aspects of South Texas, the cadence, everything. And to just go in and say, well, from what I understand, the original voice actor of Khan stepped in and is voice acting now for Dale. And there's a new person that who's actually Asian, mind you, is voice acting for Khan now. So it's off-putting because the voice actor for that was the voice actor for Khan, that's now Dale, which is interesting because, like, if you have the chops, you have the chops, and it transcends the aspects of ethnicity if you can do it right. Where, the original voice actor for Khan is not Asian; he's a white man. It's just, I think that's just immense respect to his incredible talent. But at the same time, it's just like, it's not ethically, I don't know, that's funky. Like, you can have the same respect. Those are what I'm looking at there. And that's why I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if it's going to go all that good, because it's leery, and it makes you think that maybe at some time and point, if the ratings are suffering or something is wrong, they will try and reprise these characters that are no longer with us. And that's very sad. That would be a very sad disposition to see. And now, King of the Hill was very interesting because it was one of those shows that merged the line between showing a possibility of what you could do with animation. That animation, and it was so funny because it wasn't what you would expect, because it was grounded in reality, and it was if you were watching real people, but it just so happened to be animated. And that's for one. But in the new seasons, I don't know if this is another thing to take or think about, or specifically to go in the realm of fan theories. Now, I entertain fan theories when it comes to entertainment. Play that pun twice here. Because it is something that I think is really appropriate to place onto, instead of, which is unfortunate, there are people out there that think it's normal to have fan theories about the, news events or everyday life, where you should not do that. That's where you there's nothing clicking up and up there in the frontal cortex and everything else, and with that's just, you look off. That's just quite honest with that, right? That's being straightforward with that. All right, so here's my take on this. Now, hear me out. Alright, so there's a lot of theories that are surrounding about Peggy. There's a lot of theories that surround about the main characters in general. You know, for one, that Dale actually knows about the aspects of Nancy and everything else, her infidelity and all of that. And it's quite interesting how, you know, that was playing itself out when in the second season, when the Pastor Stroop inadvertently found out that Nancy actually was unfaithful. She cheated on Dale, and Dale still doesn't know. Which is, what does that say about her? Excuse me, and her disposition with her faith, because it's one of those things, you know, making commentary about the aspects of people who say they are faithful of faith, or they walk in faith, but do they really, when they have this kind of when they have this assorted past that they never came to terms with? All right, and it worked itself out because in a ways into which is a lot of modern thinking about the aspects of faith, particularly Methodist Christian faith in the modern world. Well, there's that. There's another fan theory that says that maybe with the disposition of Boomhauer, that he's actually not he's not a buffoon as he's represented. But he's not really a buffoon when you dig down deep and hear, when you can understand the things that he says and how his family is and all that. His character is very interesting because he's a person that was, on the pulse of the aspects of the modern age, especially when we think about new technology and all these kind of things, right? And the way in which that he is represented in the new seasons of Kingdom of Hell is off-putting because he wouldn't necessarily have the disposition about things. He would stay, true to, his trans name. I don't think that with his character trait, he would have parted ways with that and just said, okay, let's ride the wave of what's going on. I think he would, stay in his hard line of what he is actually interested in, and be very welcoming with other things and know how other things maneuver and all of this. In the way in which he's represented now, he seems like he's like a bumbling oaf when he's not that. And even Bill in his disposition, he seems more desperate than what he was, because he had his issues, but he was developing in an interesting way to where he was more of a understanding of himself, and you had more and more rapport and respect for him. But now the way he is, he seems like he's just pathetic. Like he's just pathetic, and maybe there's no kind of, and it's just very off-putting. It's strange. So here's another take that I have about the show, and it ties a lot to what I said, what I'm talking about, the main characters and fan theories. And the whole root of this will have to do with Peggy. Now, there's a fan theory that says that when Peggy actually fell from an airplane, because in the original season, I think around season 3, it's either the end of season 3 or the beginning of season 4. Peggy skydives and she falls from an airplane, and they say that you can't necessarily rely on that because the time loop in which the state of reality actually is. Excuse me, I'm sorry, something got a frog in my throat. Hold on. Alright, the time loop is actually that's not actually a reliable source. So it doesn't go linear. Like even though you see things that are happening after, her falling from the plane, some people have a fan theory that those events are something that occurred before, and it's an unreliable witness. Like that's a key phrase to take from here: unreliable witness. Now, case in point, an unreliable witness, and maybe it's one of those things going down the rabbit hole, is this. Okay, so originally when King of the Hill premiered in 1997, okay? And if I'm not mistaken, Bobby was already 12 when it started, okay? Now, when you go back and you revisit and you look at the original seasons of King of the Hill before the two new seasons, they specifically mention 2 presidents, right? So it's established toward middle part of the series about Jimmy Carter. He's already retired. Everything's already over. And Habitat for Humanity. Now, Habitat for Humanity was something that gained a very popular following and gained more and more popularity as the 90s went on and so forth. And also the establishment of George Jr. Bush, right? Like he's a candidate that is running. So that's one thing. Now, there's a particular episode in the new season of King of the Hill where there's a film crew. It's a reality cooking show called. Now, Bobby is a chef in this new seasons, and he's apparently 21, and these are the time of they established these are the time of COVID, so it's got to be either 20. We got 2020, and then it's supposed to be present day now. All right, so he's the head chef of a successful restaurant that is ran by chain with San of all people, called it's an Asian fusion restaurant, Habata chain or something, something like that, right? Now, getting back to it. So there's a scene and there's an episode where something like King of the chef or King is a play on the show, but it's a reality show that has to do with cooking, and they asked Bobby to be a part of it. So they're filming him, and they're unimpressed by him because of him seeming much older than he actually is. And even the producer makes a reference about saying the things that he's talking about and call himself being, get you for the cameras is unappealing because they think he's just some 40-year-old has-been who's trying to be relevant. But they push this narrative, say, well, are you okay with the aspects of being, mean and being a jerk? And he's like, initially he's like, no, I don't know. But he went through with his coworkers because that's the disposition that Bobby initially had was nice for him to have the disposition. Now they tweaked with character development. Now Bobby as a man now, where I think he's more progressive than he would be more conservative. He would be down the middle of the road, I think, really. But anyway, there's certain ways in which they keep that intact with his original character trait. So he's very assuring and making sure that his coworkers are okay in line for him to just be faking for the cameras, being a jerk. But he saw how the disposition was and the involvement and everything else, and the work environment. So he stopped it because he didn't think it was worth it with the integrity and how the morale of his employees. So he said, well, just never mind, forgive me for being on the show. You can just move along here. And then when he was talking to a employee, Bobby, the producers and the cameramen, they inadvertently found out that Bobby is actually younger. He's actually 21. So that begs the question here. Is that necessarily true? Or is that one of those things where we're in a time loop that's actually a rendition of reality that's not actually there, and we have our unreliable narrative of somebody retelling the story, who that might be Peggy, that might be somebody that has a problem, specifically it might be Peggy, that has a problem with keeping tact with memory and time. It's not actually, in the realms of present day 2026. It might be much earlier, because if you look at it from a logical sense, Bobby would not be 21 now, like in 2026. He would be much older. He probably like as I said, just doing simple observation, how can he be 21 in 2026 when he was initially already 12 when it originally premiered in 1997. So that's quite interesting. Makes you wonder about that, right? And it also makes you wonder about the aspects of what they're doing and what they're saying in the commentary that they're making about modern day life now. Because a lot of things, it's not carry. It doesn't have the same merits or impact that it did when it originally came out. And that's the issue with re-releasing things that are part of something that was specifically for certain times that you just shouldn't mess with. Now, what was wrong, and unfortunately, King is along the lines of that. And you would think maybe Mike Judd would have learned a lesson with the way in which Beavis and Butthead went. Because Beavis and Butthead is very specific, I would say, to the 1990s. And then the way it was bought, when it was bought back in the new seasons, it didn't perceive all that well because it was just, meh, So there's my take about that. Alright, so I want to end and talk about the aspects of the second episode of Stewart Fails to Save the Universe. Now, in the second episode of Stewart Fails to Save the Universe, you get more and more pieces to the aspects of time travel and how is that impacting in present in this series, right? And then you get more and more characters from the Big Bang Theory to come back, right? And show themselves that they're different people in these new realities. And at the same time, you know, maybe it's a whole thing where you go back into fan theories there's a lot, a plethora of fan theories about Big Bang Theory. It has to say that initially, you know, most of them with time travel. And so maybe it's just one of those things where it's playing itself out that about the aspects that the Big Bang Theory was the resolved reality of finally Leonard and Sheldon, Rajesh, all of them, they all, you know, well, first Leonard and Sheldon and Rajesh, they were initially passing it on to Rajesh and everything. They all figured it out and they made it work, and that's how we get the show The Big Bang Theory, and then showing the lines in which developed for them to initially make a time travel machine. And then, you know, Stewart Fails to Save the Universe is just the aftermath of that, and them trying to piece everything back together to make everything collectively whole to justify the reason for bringing back a lackluster show. So, I don't know, it's still one of those things. It's like, you know, Big Bang Theory was very successful in a certain specific amount of time, and then it just fell off. And it's one of those things. That's the issue, again, with the aspects of bringing back something that, you know, you just let ride out the storm gracefully or end gracefully. So that's all I got for this week. And for y'all to also know, I'm going to continue out and talk about Stewart Fails to Save the Universe along with other topics on Friday. So keep a lookout for that. Alright, so this reaches this reaches the end of the Hovering Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care. Bye-bye for now.